Hey everybody, my name is Skye and welcome to the Raw Food Podcast with Skye and JJ. Hey JJ.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's Tuesday where you are. See, I remembered. I said I'm not going to forget this week. I always say happy Monday, but happy Monday or Tuesday, depending where you are.
That's right. That's right. Now, I healed myself with raw foods after being sick for 32 years, and JJ healed weight loss and chronic pain when she went on to raw foods. And we do this podcast each week, different topics to help you guys on your raw journey. And a lot of what we do is around mindset and mental health because both JJ and I have a background in that psychology aspect. But as for today's topic, it's how to be good at a raw food diet. And yeah, this actually sits close to my heart because I think what people have to understand when they first go raw is this is not something for 3 weeks or even 3 months, which fixes a problem and then you divert back or revert back. You will have to be raw for the rest of your life or high raw to have a good element of health. Like from what I've experienced, it goes backwards once you kind of stop doing it. So do you want to take it away, JJ?
Thank you. I like that. It made us feel like we were doing a band or something, like, take it away. Ready to do my solo. Um, but the reason, one of the things that came into my head when this came up is I don't think like the only thing, like you said, that's good is that you can do to be good at it, quote unquote, in my opinion, is to continue to learn with the diet, learn your body, and not really believe in the belief that you have to do it one way, but you have to be confident that you're going to do it and that it can work to heal you. That is one thing that I think is part of being good at it, is knowing how to navigate life by being different than most of the people that are around you. Being good means also being accepting to other people on their journey and where they are, because we begin to learn a lot of facts, and we have to remember that we are, in the process of that, we're learning different things as we go. But some people are coming into this brand new, so they don't have that same linear path that we would
Mm,
have. It's just, I think being good is the same as being good at being a good vegan or being a good human or being a good teacher, is not being as rigid with yourself, and also to be accepting of others at where they are on their journey or how they do their raw vegan diet.
yeah. Look, what you will learn, and I've spoken about this before, is to be and eat just raw foods is a lot for a human. Like it's new. If you've never done this before, you might be vegan, but if you're not even eating a vegan diet, this is huge. Is you want to not get caught up too much in everything you've read. So just say instead of just starting to incorporate more raw food, you haven't started, but you've just read a lot. You will face every food option with, oh my God, is that too fat? Has that got histamines? Has that got oxalates? Has that got, and you're destroying the diet before you start. And there's this aspect to it where wherever you're at on a raw food diet, you're a superhuman for even being able to do it because the world tells us not to do it. So at that level, don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing good doing raw as long as you're not breaking yourself down. So just say you decide you want to juice, start off this with juicing. You're going to juice for 2 weeks and you end up only being able to maintain, well, basic raw and high raw diet. You need to still give yourself credit and learn from what you're doing, that the body may have a higher intelligence than what you've read in a book. And that's what this is about, is getting back to that. And that to me makes a brilliant raw foodist. Also, a lot of the things I've spoke about on here are great lessons. Like, don't ever think if you've been raw for 6 months and you go back and you're like, Skye, I feel like crap. I've eaten all these old habit foods for 4 days. I mean, I went back this year and had coffee, and I learned so much in that period of time about myself, about my weaknesses, about my addictions, about how coffee doesn't serve me anymore. And you can't learn that and own that unless you walk that path. No books can tell you, but until you learn that lesson, you need that lesson to keep you doing what you're doing. So someone who's gone back for 4 days could feel so horrible. It motivates them never to touch the food again for another 2 years. I can't bestow that in a podcast to you. You have to learn. And it's part of being a good raw vegan. Is it's
Yes.
not like the reason I learned more in the coffee situation than I felt I had in a few months, few maybe 6 months. And so I think that speaks volume. I'm not telling you to go out and like sabotage, but your own what you might see as a downfall, you can actually see as moving forward, helping you. And I think that's really important for people.
Yes, I think that is so good what you just said. And also, I think what it allows you to do when you don't try to go by the textbook is allow yourself to learn first, learn what you love, learn how to, enjoy it and figure out what you like. And then if you have to tweak it along the way by those learning experiences, and then as you learn new things, you can start to make it how it's going to work for me, I had to learn how it's going to work for JJ at this point in my journey. So, because I came into this without a lot of knowledge, I always mention this on these live streams. I think it helped me to learn to love the raw vegan diet because I was just, okay, this isn't cooked. I can have this, and now, there wasn't anything in my ear saying, but that's not really raw or anything. If it wasn't something that straight said cooked and I didn't put it in a pan and cook it, and I knew it was part of that four food groups or five sprouts, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, I was finding what I liked and finding how to enjoy the diet and how it could fit into my world. Do I, you know, have to eat 3 meals a day? No, that's not how I enjoy it. I enjoy waiting until I'm really hungry and then eating. I didn't have to read in a book that you have to have it first thing in the morning, your juice or whatever the case is. Like, let yourself have that period of time, and I think that starts to help you to sustain it long term, to be quote unquote good at it, because you start to learn, you start to want to run back to it even when you have those moments. Like, you may go into a emotional state of wanting some comfort food, so you go back to it. You have this in the back of your mind, like, I want to go back to that joy, that feeling of energy that I had when I was fully raw, instead of it being like, I got to go back raw. Like, then it becomes a chore and you start to always want to go the other way from it. You can enjoy the moments that you had away from it. They're two separate experiences. But the fact that you enjoy your raw food and you're feeling more and aligning with your health goals, then that's where I think it helps to get to.
100%. And you spoke about joy, right? Is we encourage people to explore this, do it your way for joy, because not having joy will be the reason your mind wanders back to things that used to give you joy. So that's the only reason you're going back. So the more joy you can put in your raw food journey, whether that's, you might be healing a disease, so you need to eat a specific way, but then maybe you've worked out that by Sunday afternoon you can have a few maybe date ball things, like protein type ball things that are raw. And that helps you because it gives you joy. Is I just feel anything that it feels like punishment to you is your brain will seek out that joy factor and use past memories. And so you'll be like, this doesn't work for me. It's not helping me. And also, not having enough joy in your life is another reason people can't even feel the changes that are happening because they're so miserable. So I really hope that people can start to do. I'd started the journey like you, JJ, where it's like I didn't know what to do, or I didn't read about it. I just ate something that had no heat applied. And at the start, that can be a lot of sauces as well. You don't know that there's heat in it. If you need to do raw all day and your favorite sauce at night to get you through, start there. But do be really conscious, I feel, because if you want to do this long term, you're going to have to find joy. We're here on this planet Earth to be joyful and happy and celebrate. And I'm going into summer, and I think as summer, spring. As soon as the seasons change, I start thinking about more and more fruit. Now, I haven't been great with fruit, but if I have greens around it, I seem to be okay. But they're like, it's even seasonally. Don't ever feel you have to put yourself in a box.
Yes, that's a really good point too. It's kind of like letting the journey take you where it where it is, like you said, following the joy in the journey doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it wrong. It means that you're in your own learning experience, learning what works for you. Like, we talk about in theory what could work, and then in real life what is going to work for you. I think part of navigating that is allowing yourself to have those lessons. And like you said, if someone says, you can't eat nuts and seeds or something to that nature, right? The first thing you're going to do is you go back to being a kid when someone tells you you can't watch TV and you want to watch TV. It's like you're seeking that, like, I should be able to do what I want. So if you let yourself have it, and like maybe you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, I don't, my digestion, my elimination, or whatever you want to call it, that wasn't as joyful for me. So even though I enjoy nuts, I'm only going to have a half of, a handful tomorrow instead of that. So you start to figure out what works for you instead of reading it. And then if you want to read about it and learn something new from it, I think that's the way to do it. I think, when we talk about right and wrong, it's like, what is your goals for it? There are some general rules like food combining, but if you really enjoy these two foods combined and that's keeping you raw, then don't deprive yourself within the raw food diet. Like, you're already eating 100% different than you used to. So you're already leveling up to feel better. And I think that is what a lot of people can get caught up in when it comes to like right and wrong in within it. You have to, if someone's already 2 3 years in and they've learned all these things and they've already worked it out for themselves and have found a way to fit, the raw foods into their diet by doing only fruit, and it's working for them, they may be a different age than you. They may be, coming from a different place absorption wise, or like you always mention, me and you have tried to work out along the way what works for us so we can not go back to our old diet and our old chronic conditions.
Yeah. Look, if I was to say like how to be a good raw vegan, especially starting out, I would say find foods that you already like. Okay, like for me, I was like, I love mango in a salad with avocado and chili and lime and a few cashews with some greens. And I was like, I can do that. That sounds exciting. Like, I really push myself. I think that's important to be good at it, is to push yourself into flavor profiles that you like. Like, start anywhere. Anywhere is better than nowhere. The other thing I would do to be a good raw vegan is be outside, grounded, no shoes on, bottom on the ground, eat your food outdoors, especially at the start. And the sun's just back out now. We had no sun for 3 weeks in Sydney. I juiced most of yesterday and the sun came out and I'm standing there. I'm like, holy moly, I was depressed and I didn't know it. Like, I feel electric. The sun was like kissing me and I just kept walking. I'd finished my run. Excuse me. And then I'm back out and I'm like, oh my God. And I forgot, especially with raw food inside of you, it's like so amazing. The sun's coming out. It's coming into spring. I'm so excited for today. Is get yourself outdoors. A huge thing I did when I first went raw was did that. But also I noticed the more I'm indoors with all this rain is you slowly forget about outdoors and sunshine, and you start ruminating about things. You get trapped in your own head. The only time I'm not trapped in my own head is when I'm grounded with raw foods in my system. So I would say, first off, to be a good raw vegan, make a list of foods you love, foods that you can have, and start trying to incorporate those. You don't even have to be a raw vegan yet. You can just start incorporating more raw foods and get used to being besties with nature. Nature is still that one thing. Humans' lives change. Humans sometimes don't show up, and it's not that they don't love you. They've got things in their life. What has always been there for me is nature. What will always be there as long as I'm here is nature. So I really, whether it's a park, whether it's the ocean, whether it's just a grassy knoll out the front of your house, whatever that looks like, I swear there's a huge power in that. And I would start there. They're the two things I would do. Even before, I believe, are many reasons I never succeeded on any diets in the past. Well, they never made me feel as good, but you reading a book from the perspective of people who have done things for 20 years or 15 years. I, as a 4-year raw vegan, now am distant from who I was. I'm lucky that I wrote a presentation a year in and I've done videos a year in. So you really get that fresh angle. But it's very daunting when somebody who's been doing this 20 years makes it sound so simple. Well, you don't combine that with that, and you don't eat that, and you don't eat that, and you'll be well. And you're like, you've forgotten all the thoughts. Like some days, just walking from the lounge to the kitchen is overwhelming because you have so much food noise. You know, put this together, go to the get your mobile and order Uber Eats. All of these are day by day, moment by moment. So you have to work with exactly where you are. And I know a lot of people that follow us are newer to raw and also struggling to, get onto raw. So I would, to be a raw vegan, I would start nailing the what you loves with being out in nature and make a list of those loves. And when you're ready to read books, don't just remember where they're coming from, including JJ, who has a Glad to Sad book, which is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But that's a good point you were making
From
about
sad to glad.
remembering.
Sorry.
Yes.
Send it back to
And,
processing.
it's so funny that you just mentioned that because I was thinking about something the other day that I never thought about before. Like, when I was reflecting on my journey, because it's like it does take you back to it. Like when you try to remember the very beginning, you have become such a different person over time. And most of the time, you figure out, I don't know if this is just me, but you figure out when you go all the way full circle that you had it right at the beginning before you knew all that information. Your body was telling you the right thing, especially if you came into it like we did by just like, I'm going to try this raw food. Let's see, it's not cooked. I'm going to eat it. And if I like it, I'm going to keep eating it. If I don't like it. So, but I was thinking SAD was originally for standard American diet. But when you were talking about how helping people transition, I think that's why recently I've been so into the salad a day because that's actually how I started, like you said, by it
Oh,
wasn't something so unheard of that I was coming from my regular life. I'm going around, I'm eating fast food, drinking soda, you know, Twinkies and ice cream was a normal treat, for me if I wanted to while watching a movie or whatever. And to go from that to like 40 days of a juice or not eating, or to go from that to even eating only fruit, which I loved fruit, of course, but it was like I would eat every now and then I would eat some cherries or apples, not something that I was thinking as a diet. So that would have been too outrageous, too outlandish. And you mentioned that book that you read, or that you were sharing something about the 10% rule. I forget exactly what it was, but how you can go from here to here, but you can't go too far out of your range. And when I thought about it, I'm like, that's a perfect way to help people transition. A salad was something I could get my head around. So if people like
yeah,
salads, even if they want to be full on fruitarian, if that's your, what you have in your vision in your mind and that you think would be really cool for you, that's fine, but like you have to start somewhere with start finding things you love. And the salad for me really did that because I was able to find all these fresh fruits and veggies and keep adding on to it that I really liked. It was giving me enough calories because I was making it really big. I knew that as much as I was eating, I could eat until I was full because I was already feeling guilt free about this food. I'm like, it's fruits and veggies, right?
yeah,
Like, I love that about it. And then, like, I learned as I go, which is part of the lesson in being good at it too, is when I started feeling still hungry, I added a few. Other things to it, like I added avocado and corn for me at the time
yeah,
was filling, and it's like, okay, so that's helping me stay a little bit more sustained in the beginning. Like you might need more of this until your body gets used to the lighter type foods. And so I love going back and like reflecting on that. It was when I really started wanting to share that that worked for me because at the point I was, that wasn't what I was doing. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go back to eating those big salads. And it's really helped me for most of my journey stay on course. I love fruit. And I have that for my lunch and I have that salad. And I mean, I'm already excited right now while we're talking to go have that same salad that I have, but I'm trying different sometimes different combinations, adding different things on top. But it's a really, I think, helpful way for somebody because some people, I find a lot of people say this to me, Sky. I don't know if they say it to you, but they're like, I want to do raw vegan, but I could never eat just, and they name three things. And I'm like, that's
Yep.
not what I eat, like, at all. So
Yes. That's yeah, on that is a lot of people aren't ready to make change. And if I ever face somebody who I'm like, oh, I'm raw vegan, it finally healed me. And they're like, that's amazing. And I say, I eat all this raw food. And they say, oh, I got fiber. I got gas from fiber. You could give them any reason that you're going to, it would help them. But some people just aren't ready to make the change. On that 10% rule, I'll just go over that again because this
thank
is
you.
basically what I used to go raw. And JJ, you seem to use a similar like thought process in your head. So when I was studying psychology, we learnt that a human will not make a behavioral change unless there's more than a 10% variance. So if you go to a shop and you're about to buy some tires for your new car, and I don't know how much they are over there, I don't know how much they are here, is just say in
Too
one
much.
shop they're 200, let's say they're $500. Okay, or they're 550. You go into the shop and they're 550. And then you go into the next shop and you notice that they're hang on. Yeah, you go into the next shop and you notice they're $500, and you'll be like, is this the right example? I think I've lost myself on this train of thought. Hang on, I know
No,
what it is.
you're
Okay, yeah,
right.
no, this is
I
it.
think
So you
I'm
go to the next
remembering
shop,
now.
$500. So you go, and the next shop, they're $545. Okay, so there were $550 in one shop. They're $545 in the next shop. More than likely, you will not feel ripped off. Like somebody took too much from you, you'll be like, I'm not going back to the next shop. You'll just buy them, right? But if you go do this same situation again, where you go into the shop and there's a chocolate bar, and that chocolate bar is $5.
$10.
Well, let's say $5,
Oh,
and you
okay.
don't buy it. And then in the next shop, it's $10. So it's still $5, whether it's the tires or the chocolate bar. You will get worked up. I'm being ripped off. I am going back to the other shop. How dare they do this? So that's created a behavioral change based on that the variance is more than 10%. The amount isn't changed. You aren't you'd still be out of pocket $5. But
Mhm.
the behavior that comes off the back of it being more than 10% of the original price for the chocolate bar is what you need to understand. Well, there's many things about behavior you need to understand, but that is the fundamental way that you've changed, right? So you've gone, hey, I usually have meals each day. So if I now just eat juice, that puts me in an uproar. How will I survive? How will I do this? Even if it's going to fix me, that's all too much, right? But if somebody says to you, hey, you still get your same couple meals a day, you just have to replace what you were doing with still similar flavor profiles. You might be a sweet and sour or spicy. So you might make a bowl that's got, your mangoes, your chili. You might have, make sure there's some salt in there, some celery, some greens, right? So you're still working with, you might have like sweet and sour food. And when you can understand that that's what your brain is going to default to, like it's going to go juice too much, you can work with that. It's almost like tricking the brain. Another time I did this was when I stopped all my addictions to go raw. I didn't stop the behaviors. So if I stop the entire process, that's like 100% of what my brain remembers going. It's like, how
Mhm.
will I cope? I'm not going to sit in the same chair at 10 a.m. and open a pack of cigarettes or vaping. And I usually have like a coffee out in the sun and listen to music. And that's my thing, my stimulation, right?
Mhm.
So I would still go to the chair at the same time. And then I would still have tea in the same coffee mug. I would still have the sunlight and the music. I'm not stripping away everything. The brain wants to, like, so much of it is tied up in not just the drugs reaction. There's an A and B response that the body already knows. So if you
Mhm.
would go at 10 o'clock every day to have some sort of drug, the body lowers your, it'll start to see the sun change. It'll start to know your circadian rhythm. It'll start to make you feel depressed. This is how addiction occurs, is it start the A and the B response. The A response will start to make sure that all the neurotransmitters in your brain start to make you feel worse. So when you have the coffee and the sunlight and the music and whatever I do, all it does is bring you back up to normal. So that's
Mhm.
all that drugs do over a certain period of time, unless you continue to increase them. Is you're just feeling, you think the drug is helping you, but in actual fact, all it is a deficit created by this A and B response in the body. Knowing these sort of things, I think these were very intuition for me at this point after really studying psychology for a long time and believing in it fully. these are some of the things that both of you and I still did. So you're still doing the action, which is at the same time of the day, still eat your meal, make it as dense as you can at the start. So you're not
Mhm.
pushing yourself too far where there's a massive behavioral change that needs to happen.
Exactly. And then after I was, you know, into it and made that transition after I was raw for a while, I have done some things like, oh, if I feel like, oh, I'm feeling a little like I'm eating too much heavy food, or I think it was something, going on where I couldn't chew very well once. So I did a bunch of like days put together of smoothies. And you can always, like, if you're like, no, this is it, I want to do this juicing, or I want to do this thing because I want to go 3 days on such and such fruit, you can always do those later on. But
Yeah.
if you're having trouble even getting started on that, if you put it off for a year, like I talk about in the book, I really guarantee, like you said, the fact that I was still eating my dinner, and that I started leaning towards, me and you both started leaning into what we were going to eat instead of what we were getting away from. That's another thing. If I had gotten to dinner and I couldn't have meat, I couldn't have dairy, and I couldn't have anything cooked, but I didn't get anything, I started being focused on, oh my gosh, look at this. There's like three different kinds of lettuce. I didn't even know that, started getting into
Yes.
the different varieties of foods, and like there was so many nutrients that I had never really paid attention to. Like I knew, people would say growing up, like, eat your spinach or whatever, it's good for you. But like I never ever realized there were properties in these fruits and vegetables to help with everything runs smoothly. I started feeling like I was giving myself this like miracle pill that is out there that was giving me all these nutrients that all these feelings and all these chemical reactions that people are looking for. Like, it was giving me energy, it was making my skin even feel better, I was losing weight for the first time easily, and that it's different for everybody how long these things take, but within 3 days of adding raw foods, I literally felt such a difference. And I think that's part of the part that was helping me, was I was actually enjoying it and getting into it. So when you're ready to start in on adding these raw foods, really allow yourself to absorb it in a way that, like what you always mention, of not self-sabotage, of I'm going to figure out how this probably won't work, but it is
Yeah.
going to work, and I'm going to figure out a way, you know.
That's right. And it's a lot of deep thought into what your behaviors are and things that work for you and what you enjoy, that you want to grasp onto those with every power and every ounce in your body, to sometimes stay raw. And that's not that you're a weak raw vegan. That means you're a good raw vegan. You're going to find out all the ways that you usually sabotage yourself, and you're not going to go near that. And if that means you can't juice today, that you need to start just including a little bit more raw foods, at least being truthful with yourself about that. I notice I do this today is when I started training again, now that my mast cell activation has settled down or really not existent, is
Good.
I can't go back to running and Pilates every single day. Sitting in that, not, this is like addictive thing tendency as well, but us as humans jump to where we want to be, but the actual way that I get there and stay there is the journey. So the journey has been, some days I've done Pilates and needed 2 days off, or some days I've done running and needed 2 days off, or needed a rest the next day after. And instead of myself beating myself back up the next week, I just do another session. And then I go back to doing what I can where I'm at, and don't think that I'm a bad person for not being where I am. Because once I am running very fast again and doing Pilates like left, right, and center, the only reason I can do it. So when you end up learning how to be a great at doing mono meals or juicing or whatever it is you want to achieve from a raw diet, is you will be an expert at it because you learnt the steps that got you there. So like me, after I've juiced or I've done mono meals, is that's the time I have the worst cravings. But I have a whole massive skill set to keep me raw. I've got
Mhm.
years to keep me raw, right? So when these cravings come up, I can be like, okay, I remember it at night time when cravings came up, I'd cut up raw nori sheets with some nuts and soy sauce and some carrots. I'll do that, but I won't go all the way back to cooked food. Like these
Yeah.
skills that you do, um, they're yours. yours only. They may not serve another human, but it will make you a good raw vegan, because there will be many times you're challenged and you have to know your limits. So what I'm saying are extra things which will help you is, you don't have to rush, but don't beat yourself up when you're not at your end goal, because it's a journey. And the skills you learn on that journey are how you will stay raw over the years. And I believe they also contribute to being a good raw vegan.
And I really wanted to touch back on when you were talking about that overall, like overall pillar of health, pillars of health, I guess as they call it. But like when you're talking about health, sometimes we can get too caught up in being perfect in our diet and forgetting that being emotionally, well, and getting that sunlight out in nature, and it's if it's not coming natural to you, set, like you said, small little like processes that you can just focus on sticking to that process instead of the outcome. Maybe it's you always sit at your desk. Like for me, I had to start saying, when I get my 15 minutes break at work, I'm going to go outside, right? Because now I crave going outside on that 15 minutes, but I was sitting and still getting some extra work done. Or maybe I would come over and do something on my phone for the channels that I manage over on Facebook and things. And I was like, you know, I can do that outside. I can take that outside. So then it helped me to get sunlight. I remember when I really wanted to get back into working out on the elliptical, but it was getting really hard for me to, like, it was challenging for me, and I was thinking about how I started raw food. I had to learn to enjoy working out, so I brought it into the
Yeah.
room with me so that it was closer and it was easier, and I was like, I'm going to just do 5 minutes every time I get a moment between calls or whatever it was. And it starts to, like, give you the momentum that you need to celebrate really little wins, because I think we need that throughout our journey. And we need to, instead of just every time we're hard on ourselves, oh, I ate this instead of that. But yeah, you recreated it within your standard, like we talked about on the standards. I see, hey, Rocky and Veganaze, good to see you. Like when they miscook vegan food, they go towards gourmet raw. But you know what? That's amazing that you found that within your own health plan, you
Yeah.
found a way to deal with that. Because if you don't really want to misalign and go with vegan food, that's what you were talking about. You already, like, automatically switch on how to recreate it raw, and that's where we get all these wonderful recipes from you. Like, I love that.
Yeah, and your strengths of digging in yourself will more than likely become your life purpose. They're tools which you see nobody else is gifting the world, and you start to share. And that's essentially where JJ and I have come into our purpose. But for example, is when I cooked vegan food, I was going more towards raw gourmet. And you don't have to say it's not the healthiest. You're amazing for staying raw. In fact, most raw vegans that I've spoken to have been doing this for years, had a few years where they did very gourmet food when you hear their journey. And then they decide to write a book explaining what's perfect, but they don't go back and tell you about that time of their life, thinking that missing that somehow helps, whereas the whole picture is why they are where they are right now. So if I was going back to gourmet, and I've done this before, is I I just be mindful of what my new goal is. And that is, maybe I can't get rid of all the gourmet yet, but I start increasing slowly the fresh to get me, where I want to go. And when we do that, we can appreciate, because if you've overcome not eating cooked by that, if anyone is doing any raw, you're amazing. You have to
Mhm.
understand, in this world, it's a very difficult thing. And I say this often, that's why not many people do it. They can know the answer to their healing. But all these things you learn, they're treasures on your journey, because anytime you've done something like and a lot of these things come up when we go to like Christmas time and family events, and we'll find that that's when we do more of the gourmet. And yeah, but I wanted to say off the back of baby steps, I've told this story before, I think. A family member of mine ended up with a panic disorder and could not leave the house whatsoever. And so they needed to leave the house, and they don't have this panic disorder now, but they first off would put their walking clothes on, and they're in an apartment, and just walk halfway down the staircase and come back up, and did this for a few days. And they felt confident in that, and they got to the front door, okay, with no panic, and they were okay. Once they felt comfortable there, they walked around the building. And once each level, they may have stayed at a longer period. Now, to me, that's a superhero, because sitting in each of those stages in the world which we want quick fixes is very hard. Eventually, now this person walks extreme all over the world, travels all over the world.
That's
But
amazing.
it is, but they could still be sitting in an apartment and never
Trying to
got where
go
they
around the
are,
world.
trying to go around the world, and they never um, managed to master walking down the stairs. And that's
I
what we
love
want for
that.
all of you guys, is to, and that's what JJ and I did, is we mastered every level we're at. And you can jump levels of raw food at different times. Your body might not, your behaviors might want different things, but all those skill sets, imagine if she has panic sometime, she will learn that she has all the skills to get her through a day if she just walks down the street, and she'll be comfortable with that. So
And I love what you just said about sharing it. Like sometimes I'm sharing things that I know are going to get a comment of like a perfection person, like, no, you shouldn't have, two full avocados or something like that. Let's just say no one's ever said that to me, but I'm sure there might be people thinking it or saying it. And it's like, when you're new to this and you are like not able to get full, instead of going all the way back to your standard diet that you're trying to heal something or trying to feel better, or you're really, your goal, just it never leaves your mind that you really truly believe you're a raw vegan, and that's the way to your health, that you want to have, and it's for you, and you're trying like to get all the way around the world. I love that example that you just showed. If I have to eat something, like some days, whether it's if I don't, sleep, or I was up late, I feel so hungry, and I might need to have something that is a little bit more dense but still raw, and maybe you make that extra banana smoothie with the almond milk you normally have, or whatever the
yeah,
case is, but give yourself that space. And then, because you don't want to always feel like, I'm not perfect, so now I don't feel good about it, and that starts to bring down the joy of the diet. Enjoying it within the standard of staying as raw as you can, keeping as much raw food in your life that you can possibly sustain and feel happy and feel connected with, is so amazing. Like it almost takes this big pressure off of your shoulders, and it avoids this really, where you can start to come into a negative connotation with this. And I think people go through this cycle. I almost, if I've watched them since I've been in the raw food world for a while, they come in hot, right? Then it's like, I'm all raw, and then they start saying that you can't do this, you can't do that, and people start getting in their head, and then they end up just feeling defeated, like, I'm not doing this right, I'm not doing this right, and then they go back to eating that way, and then they want to try again, and it's like, I've been there and I see that struggle, and once I just relaxed and said, I want to be I want to enjoy raw foods, and any way that I can combine them, any way I can do it. And then eventually, like, you start to figure out, hey, that person probably had it right from the beginning. Yeah, I don't think I should have 30 avocados a day, right? Because I don't feel as good. But you had to experience it instead of being told.
100%. And it may be the reason you're still raw today. I mean, I want to just bring up this. So someone like Lissa, it took her 10 years, and she's an expert at it, right? She's been raw now, I think she's been raw for 10 years, but it took her 10 years to commit and stay, because she had to find out how to do it her way. When she listened to her body, she healed everything. She was saying in the podcast we did for women's health that she did all the juicing. It didn't help her problem. So to me, when I notice that people eat differently, fundamentally, they're working with their microbiome, they're working with what works for them. And then in 50 years' time, she'll have been still raw vegan. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to, she never got there, never helped her. It doesn't work. It's not for me. We want you to be like, I like avocados. All the positive things add up. So yeah, years, and I've only made it for a month. so here and there. And so a huge thing is you've just got to recognize, I think it's like owning your weaknesses and turning them into your diet almost, because
Mhm.
like those things where I'm like a salty, savory type person, and like Lissa defaulted back to doing more of that. I'm part of the Raw Vegan Bundle. I open recipe books and none of them are remotely the same. Yet
Mhm.
we're all raw foodists. And these people are succeeding so much so that they've written books for the bundle. And I think that's a really important thing. If you look in the community, people who've been doing this for a long time are not all doing it the same. I think it's also really important, especially at the start, do not get caught up if it's raw or not raw. Can't get caught up on if it's vegan or not vegan. But I'm talking about sauces, condiments, kimchi, all those extra things. It's too much. You just start where you can. I
Thank
think
you.
so.
Hi, Dawn.
Don't probably eat too many avocados if you I when I healed myself and put on 12 kilos in 1 year with no nuts or seeds, I was eating like four a day at the start and three a day, and ours are quite big here. That then, when my body didn't need it, like tapered off. But when people are like, I can't get on raw, and then they're like restricting themselves, it's like, do you want to stay raw? Because they're like, I can't have that. That's bad. Essentially, you probably read in every book what's bad. Even watermelon's bad. Too much sugar. Does it have seeds? Doesn't have seeds. You shouldn't be eating that watermelon. Trust me, everything I've
Been there,
posted, I've
right?
written before.
We
But
have heard
if
it
you
all.
don't, yeah, that's it. There is negative about having too many, and my theory is if your goal is, have a goal of getting raw. Don't worry about what, you'll fix yourself. If you can stay raw, your body will start shouting at you after about 6 months to a year, new directions and new
It'll
movements.
actually start telling you, you're right.
Oh, for sure. It does. Your whole world doesn't become based off media and addictions. It comes off literally, like the other day I didn't grab one, but I could not stop thinking about papayas. And I'm not great with papayas, but I go through these stages where I cannot stop thinking about it. Was it, I haven't, never a pizza or nachos. It's literally foods, but you don't get the luxury until you've learnt to stay raw. And that in itself is very different than doing raw foods for 10 years. You'll learn great lessons. But if you eat just like, because people tell me they're like, um, I tried it and I can't do it. And they were just trying to eat not enough at the time or what their body didn't want. So it's really, really, I think, important. So,
Definitely. Dawn, you're amazing too. J&J Video reacts. Neo, you're amazing too. The cat just he heard me say Dawn. He's like
oh,
it's her little buddy here. She's she'll
so
be
I
in
just,
after the live stream.
so I just want to bring this up because I do work with people trying to lose weight. And I ask them this question, and maybe it's good to ask yourself. So, if you do you want to the question is, do you want to be raw or do you want to lose weight? If you want to lose weight, going raw first off may not be the whole solution, right? Because if it is, I could not, I don't know who can do it, is just start eating light. Even in the 80-10-10 book, Dr. Doug Graham states the first 6 months will not be like the rest of it, right? If your goal is to lose weight when you're hitting raw foods, when you're starting to have to consume massive amounts of food when you weren't before, and having to eat the extra avocados, some dates, whatever it is you may find doing another diet is what you need to do. Because what I notice is people who try and do really light just swing back and forth. But if your goal becomes to be raw at all costs, where you usually lose weight due to inflammation and you can't get enough in, I find people who I start on the journey who want to lose weight with their goal of getting onto raw foods seem to do much better long term than if their goal was to lose weight, because they still have that restricting mindset. So that might help.
Definitely. I think, after figure like,
Oh,
some everybody can't figure out sometimes it's like when you start thinking I got to come up with all these recipes and all these things. You said something really key earlier, Sky. You said that find something you like. And for me it was the salad, but what might be your go-to meal, and start having that once a week, and then start experimenting with what can I eat that is raw or mostly raw? Like you said, don't worry about the sauces at first. I think it's so good to we think we're doing something so out of the ordinary, but it's just because in our mind it sounds complicated. But you probably already eat a lot of raw food potentially, depending on who it is coming into this or what you normally eat. Is there a way that you can add some more raw food into that? Start having a salad before your meal and seeing how you can fill up on it. Start having fruit for lunch, for example, and see if that is something you enjoy, because it's like coming full circle back. I eat the same way I did when I started, but at some point along the journey I started making it more complicated than it has to be as I started
Yeah.
learning more and more. So I think that also we go through periods of time where I can be the same raw, but I'm not losing weight or maintaining weight. Sometimes I'm gaining weight. It's very interesting how that works hormonally. I don't know how old you are, but for me, since I've gotten into my mid 40s, it's way different than it was when I started this diet at 42. It was just falling off of me before. Now, like I eat a couple of, days of too many avocados, I feel the weight put on easier, but that's okay because that's part of what I needed at that time in my journey in the cycle of my happiness to keep me raw. So I think you're right. I think we've somewhere along the line heard that that we have to do it one way, and I love the philosophy. And if you're one of those people that worked and you like straight went into this with only juice and now you're like a really successful raw vegan, that's amazing too, because that's your journey. But I think when I speak, I like to speak to the people and tell everybody else to share your own struggles and how you overcame them, because it might help someone. That's what I love about what you do, Skye, is if you have a certain food that's maybe triggering something, you find a workaround for it and you share that no one has this perfect journey. When we, of course,
Mm.
sometimes we want to look back and write our story, we write it in a way that it is, without struggle, because that's where we've gotten to. But there is
Yeah.
something to sharing how you've, overcame that. And that's what I love about like communities and things like that. So we can all share, but doing it in an uplifting way.
Sure. So I was just looking at some of the comments down here. And when it comes to, I was just going to say, I was doing fasting. So I saw Rocky said that she's trying to heal autoimmune and weight loss. And like if you try one of the protocols for autoimmune and you cannot stay on it, once again, I would just find a way to be raw to help yourself and kill the hive mind. Hey, this is so true. When people say they want to lose weight, they're really saying they want their health back. So if that's the case, focus on the health. The weight takes care of itself. And that's true as well. Over time, your health will improve. So, and then Rocky said she's
That's
lost
like
it.
backwards of how I came in. I wanted to lose weight and got all these bonus health things that happened. I was like, wait, I don't have allergies. Oh my goodness, my back pain's gone. I just wanted to lose a couple of pounds. So I was like in love with this diet.
Yeah, so this is something interesting about the fasting. So I've actually lost a good amount of weight. I was doing alternate day fasting before raw, which fasting does not work for me. So when I first went raw, there is not a chance in this universe I would have stayed raw if I was fasting. Yet once I got into it, you get to play around a bit. But even when I've noticed, I've spoken about this before, I noticed I'd put on a lot of weight by the start of this year, but I was very inflamed, is doing changing my lifestyle with a focus of weight was even difficult being on raw foods. And it wasn't so much for me. It was just a bit of extra inflammation, I think, that I was carrying, which seems to have gone now that I found the correct way of eating. But I just think to be a good raw vegan is going to look different for everybody. And the more we love and support and learn from each other, I think we just don't feel so like, as well, when we try something, someone's like, this worked for me, and we try it, we're like, I tried it, it didn't really work for me. That's all fine too. When there's like set in stone, we feel so bad that like we think we failed, and we don't want that for anybody. It's about like owning the journey, being connected to nature, owning where you're at, even if that is just extra meals each day, until you build up, and finding things that you love. And essentially, at the end of the first year, the first year for me was, and other people I've coached, it's like this as well. It's like every day you accomplish, it's like being an Olympian. You're like, holy moly, like I've got through day 80, I've got through day 250. And then once I hit 1 year, it was like the days started flying for me. But that just really shows how much you're changing your life and yourself and your diet. So it's really, really great to just honor and respect where you're at. So
Yeah, it's kind of like I was thinking while you were talking about that. It's kind of like wearing clothes, right? We all wear clothes, so we're all eating raw foods, but like what we decide to put on is can be
yeah,
different. So we are sharing, like, oh, this is really comfortable. Try this. Oh no, that doesn't work for me because I need something that doesn't, uh, doesn't close around the neck, or this might work for me, but this doesn't. And that's what I think it's like when we're all talking about the foods we love, but we have that core concept that we know we're moving into our health. We're eating a diet that is giving us, fiber and water and things that are putting good into our body. And the way that we all can enjoy it from where we're coming from and where we are on our journey is the exact, like, that's the right way to do it. Not giving up on it necessarily, but giving it the grace and the patience that you need to do it in a way that suits you.
I love that, the grace and the patience. So, some people are talking about fasting down below, and you are not worth fasting unless you've got a diet which you really love to go back to, because it's really is going to be difficult. And as for what is pushed in the community, I feel like that's how I ended up on watermelon and grapes, is that you get told so often that to be, to cleanse, to heal, to be enlightened. And I actually felt, when I look at photos of that time, is, well, I think I did end up deficient. I ended up with blood sugar issues, low sodium and low iron, but I don't look well. But also, I was very judgmental. So something was obviously missing in me. I was very much like, I started to become just like that. Like, people should be doing better, whereas I'm like, hello, this is like life. You know, how can I judge me and others when I have been through a path where I would hate others to have judged me at that time, when I'm at like rock bottom and I'm going through a lot. And hopefully, even though they don't live that way, they still loved me. You want to gift someone at their hardest hour love and support. You do not want to be like, well, if you just juiced, you'd fix your problems. Like, that might be on my journey, I believe that, but where that person is, that seems so unrealistic. You're just adding to their weight in burden. And we want to add to
Yeah.
people's love and positivity and feeling great that they even did a smoothie that day.
It would be
Like,
much better to help them celebrate the little win they had than continuing
yeah,
to focus on the negative that they're already doing to
yeah.
themselves, right?
Yeah, so, and M is loving it because they're eating during the lives, and good for you. I'm having my green juice.
I'm getting ready to go make my salad after this. I think I'm gonna have some walnuts too.
What does that say?
I'm
I'm
gonna have
made
to have a
to
snack while I'm
rain.
cooking. We always this always makes me hungry. Like, I think it was last one you were talking about all those, I forget what we were talking about, but you were just rattling off some
Wow.
really good combos of food, and I was like, I'm dying, I'm hungry.
So this
Yes,
is
I do.
your little wins will get you to a place where you actually have the right to decide if you can fast or juice. Like, people don't understand that if they're not raw yet, they don't have the right to make decisions about their being raw. Like, people like, I can't do raw. No, sorry, I can't do raw. And then they're going back to cooked food. And I'm like, you don't, and they're like, I'm eating only fruit. I'm like, you don't have that luxury if you keep going back to fruit. You have to become denser. Is If you've been raw for at least a month to 3 months, you could possibly start making some decisions. But I'd give it 6 months to a year. Unless you're really, like, we're talking acutely sick people here, you're going to start feeling better and better and better, the
Mhm.
more raw and fresh and lighter you eat, and let your body navigate. I mean, 6 weeks in, I cut out nuts and seeds, and that wasn't based on anything other than I did notice they were drier. And then I eventually went back to them because I wanted the nutrients in them. But I'm doing different versions all the time, and
Yeah. I think, you
I
know
just
what?
do me.
like remembering that. I think what really shifted for me in my mind was I was remembering that me and my body were working together, and that whatever I can do to give it the space to heal as best as we can, but your mind is also a part of that overall health, that we talk about. So finding, I think that's why we both talk so much about finding joy in it, because that is part of it. And if that right now, that sunflower seeds, even if you were saying, I don't want to eat sunflower seeds, but not eating them was making you just, like you said, ruminate on what else you could have, or feeling depressed, it's better to eat the sunflower seeds and stay raw, right? Like, or whatever the case
100%.
is,
When you
or as
realize
high
it's
raw.
better, yeah, when you realize that, you're a raw vegan. When you realize that it's better to eat the avocados or the dates, or today I'm just eating 5 avocados all day and nothing else at the start of your journey, you're a raw vegan. You're willing to do whatever it takes to just stay eating raw. You're not going to do that for a week. Nobody is going to feel great doing that, but it's really important. And the fasting has come up again about do I advocate for fasting or not really? The thing about how I healed myself, this is what you have to understand, is every decision started to come from a place of love. So I ate the food and I noticed afterwards I didn't feel pain or tired. And I was like, oh, but if I went and ate a hamburger, vegan hamburger, I would feel instant gratification, but afterwards I would feel bad. And that's pain, and that's not self love. And so when I would make the decision, do I stay inside today or do I sit in the sun? I'm like, well, I'll start to feel bad inside. But if I sit in the sun, I feel good there and I feel good after. And I made a decision from love. And so for me, a lot of people who are sick are just dehydrated. So when you fast, you usually start missing electrolytes and nutrients, which will help you hydrate more. And it depends what type of fasting. Some people think juice is fasting. I don't count that as fasting. I count your water or your dry fasting. If I drink water for a day, it can help ease maybe like my stomach and a bit of mast cell activation, but I'm still dehydrated. And for me, I have to ask the question, how do I sit in love? And at the moment, I don't eat all day. I do juice, green juice all day. I'm always changing. I'm not recommending this. This is just what's helping me right now. And then I have like a salad in the afternoon. Um, but I do that so I stay hydrated and in self love. So if I'd been doing this for years and I never had a lot of chronic disease and I wanted to push my body into dehydration, which essentially is still water fasting, you become drier. Um, that might be something. But for me, I have to make the decision in love, whether that's fasting, whether that's any food choice. I have to feel good continuously. And even at the start of the journey, is eating 2 or 3 avocados would make me feel better than if I ate a cooked meal. So I'm still sitting in love. And also, I got really confused when I first came into the community, knowing that I'd been sitting in self harm where decisions were based off fear with doctors and protocols, and you're supposed to suffer. Because I had no detox, I just felt better and better and better, really following what worked. And that people like, you push yourself and you've got to feel uncomfortable and go through this. I'm like, I can't go there. That was my entire life. Now I sit in love. So not just with fasting, but anything. That's where I sit. But I'm only speaking for myself and coming from that love.
Yeah, I know there's some, like, lots of benefits that people find in fasting, but after a while I started to just look at the concept of your body. If you do raw foods and you do feel like your body doesn't want any food, just listen to it and don't eat. And sometimes, like, I won't eat all day, or sometimes I will, but I find that that's the type of fasting that I've only done. But I also don't want to speak to it because I'm not an expert, and I don't have any, I don't follow any type of fasting, but I know Dawn has done it before, and people are, if that's what path you feel like you're on, then whatever you can do to make it. But I don't also have any protocols for fasting that I do for myself. I've thought about it, but like you said, and then when I do, I'm thinking, am I doing that because it's for a purpose right now? And it didn't seem to serve me as well.
Yes, we could talk about this for a while, but I've actually got a Pilates class I've got to go to. More
Talking
self-love.
about movement, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
right.
But I was gonna say one more thing, and that was, oh, when you're in menopause or perimenopause, you will notice your metabolism changes. I do struggle. When I first went raw, you're not eating as much. You can't get in the volume, but I do notice that where I'm at now, it's very impossible for me to ever eat 3 meals a day again. But I have no
Me
stomach too.
too.
But I
Jeez.
hear this so much with women who are going through peri and menopause that it's either 1 meal or 2 meals a day, and they seem to be able to make. You've got to be very purposeful, and that's not for everyone. Everyone's at a different stage, but there's a common theme that's going on.
Well
Uh,
said. I appreciate you.
yeah. All right.
Wow,
So
we
thank.
had so many people. I didn't see anybody at first, and then all of a sudden I looked down.
It
Thank
did.
you. Kill the Hive Mind. Don, how are you? J&J Video Reacts. Who else did we have here? I got to do my little Rocky Wright and Friends. Yay. I was like, I love all these. And I just saw Creative Heart on your last live stream. I thought she was here, but I'm like,
No,
I think
I
I
think
saw
the
her on
last
the
one.
last one, right?
Oh,
Well,
me
hi,
in my
Salah.
pajamas.
Hello.
I woke up in my pajamas, and I'm like, I feel good. I'll do a live.
I
So there's
probably
that.
said your name
There's the
wrong there,
before
so
and after.
I love all your live streams. I love you show us like in the, morning, evening, afternoon meals and
And I
thoughts.
even show you how I bumped the juicer and threw juice everywhere. I had many
Yes,
of
that was
these
my
calamity situations. So this is why I changed it back into my normal position. It wasn't working. I got up and I just did a makeshift light and just started doing it. And then I realized that I was just really causing. Then I nearly slipped across the kitchen floor on the
oh
juice.
no.
Juice can be like that, guys. It was detoxing me straight out the building.
Look,
All right.
juice at your own risk, right?
It is. It
Don't try
is.
this at home.
That's right. Okay, so I will be traveling next week. We might have to skip next week, and then the week after I should be more settled in the US. So I'm going away to the US for a month. I'm so excited. We
Yes, I'm
got to
so excited
do
for you to come here. One of these times you'll have to come to Ocean City. I know you've
it.
got enough.
Whereabouts are you? You've told me where you are. You're Atlanta. Are you? Where are you?
Ocean City, Maryland. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite down as far as Atlanta in the East Coast. So you're probably I don't know how are you flying around the US or are you driving?
Flying, driving, no confirmed places yet. We'll see where
I
we end
love it.
up. All right. I will see you guys soon. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Skye. Everybody have a good evening.
Bye.